Happy day 21. Happy day 21. We're getting close to the halfway mark, but more than anything, your timing is impeccable because we are also upon the summer solstice. And, you know, summer is the time that we like to have a good time and then be with our friends or be with nature, be out and about in motion. So welcome to Paradigm Shift 48. If you're here for the first time, I'm La Tonia Taylor, affectionately known as the RevCoach, the Juicy Spirit Mama, the Priestess of Purpose, Pleasure, and Passion. And today we are focused on relationships. Today we are focused on relationships. And you might say, well, you know, last week we was already on family. We were doing prayers for parents, you know, and such. But, you know, what we forget is that there are these relationships that we don't choose. And that's family. That's the ones we don't choose by blood. But then there are those that we choose, and those are the relationships with others. And our relationships is wealth, honestly. I want you to hear that again. For those of you who have conversations about doing it by yourself, for those of you who shut down and you've relied only on your family, your immediate family, your your immediate family. You go to your mother all the time. You go to your father all the time. You go to your siblings all the time. The quality of your relationships with them will be strained also based off of your needs and obligation. A lot of those relationships end up being so motivated by obligation. But when you are in relationship with others, it really is a level of choice that is involved. And I see people oftentimes online minimizing the value of relationships by talking about, you know, I'm cutting people off in 2000, you know, especially the beginning of the year, the end of the year, you know, making announcements. It's to me the most juvenile thing in the world for grown, sometimes mid-age people to do, because, you know, who announces the end of friendships and relationships? Most people don't even announce the end of their divorce. Why are you announcing the divorcing of your friends and sometimes your family, which I'm not saying that the divorce may not be necessary and the cleanup may not be necessary, but what I find very interesting is how easy it is to discard relationships where, but let me say, most of us have not been given the personal skills, the interdevelopmental skills to deal with conflict. And the quality of our relationships are often tested by some type of conflict, and moving through that and how you move through that is everything. Usually it's a reflection of what you have learned in your immediate family. And that is why when you come into tribes, oftentimes you're bringing with you your unfinished business from your family. And when I'm talking about all different types of tribes, your sister girl tribes, your college buddy tribe, your old high school friends, if you stay connected. Some people stay connected to their old high school groups, and they endure. And then there are friends that become friends through work, and you begin to share time together. When is the last time you all have entertained in your home? When is the last time you all have entertained in your home? Not for a big event, but literally, hey, you got make it potluck. You got something, you bring something, and we just going to get together. When is the last time you've called your friends together? Because sometimes you are waiting for someone else to do it. And the number one issue, quiet suffering that's happening in many of these urban communities is loneliness. Many people are out here lonely. And this is why we attach now to these different events. And so you notice in a lot of urban communities, there are a lot of events for friends to play, events for people to do paint parties, events for this and event, because basically many of us are getting our engagement through events, and we're not really asking the universe to send us quality relationships or to heal relationships that have been broken through conflict, through breakdown, or through fallout. And so you oftentimes when you're getting ready to shift the paradigm, it looks like you have to all of a sudden clean up your friends. Now, there's the flip side of some of these relationships are also spiritually abusive in some of these tribes when there's a need to belong. And you think, particularly for business, this is happening chronically in business circles where you think that the person has connections, promotions, or they've done something you want to do. And so you oftentimes there is this hanging on, this thing that happens where I want to be in the in crowd. It's a transfer from unmet needs even in high school that's happening right now in some of these business circles and some of these so-called spiritual circles, and I know that I run one. But those of you who are in it, I'm not saying that our circle is exempt from relationship breakdowns. They're not exempt from certain incidents happening when people form bonds. But what I do know is that as leaders, we are supposed to set a standard of how to handle breakdown and settle differences, or to set a standard of what our collective value is in our relations. See, what I'm talking about in principle now is your personal world, your environment, your dwelling place, your job or career, your income, your possessions, people you work with, your friends, your social activities, your physical activities, your community. What you see in your personal world are the ideas that you have in consciousness expressed in the third dimension. When you hear people talking about the third dimension, y'all, this is the third dimension. There are several dimensions on this planet. And when we talk about anything below the third dimension, we're talking about lower vibrational energies. When we talk about anything above the third dimension, we're talking about higher vibrational energies. But on this realm, we see an inventory of our ideas. Remember, we talked about ideas earlier. You are seeing images, and each image is nothing more than infinite beliefs projected into materiality. The materiality that we see is in our relationships. Every person in our life, therefore, is the law of consciousness, and you're sharing a mental or physical space with them, either through positive or negative attraction. See, the law of attraction does not just work for your positive affirmations. The law of attraction also works for your negative ones. See, the ones that you can't see, that you don't tell anybody about. So when you're secretly feeling envy, when you're secretly feeling jealousy because somebody's in a relationship and you want one, that energy will show up and you will start to attract a lot of jealous girlfriends sometimes around you. When you see people winning in their business, and instead of you being able to truly be happy for them, especially if you know their story, then you sometimes ask yourself, why not me? Why hasn't this happened for me? I know this stuff, and you will continue in the material plane attract that. Some of you can't stand your supervisors, but you are talking about you a spiritual master. You want to be a spiritual master. Well, your mastery material is right there in front of you when you can translate, and transform the relationship that's in front of you. Doesn't mean you change them, but you can transform yourself, how you're relating to them, such that it becomes a non-factor for you. Everything comes to you or is repelled from you based on your vibrational field. And vibration is established by your beliefs and your convictions. Most people who still believe in the God of hell and damnation, meaning they're trying to get to heaven or they're trying to avoid hell, you will see that in the quality of your relationships. If you believe in a hell and damnation God, oftentimes you are often very judgmental. And so you will have judgments happening, running through you at all times, even when people are being good to you. And you will base sometimes even your relationships on what people can do for you and not because of who you are and who they are. It's just not a criticism. This is a place to look at the mirror reflected around you in your human relationships, because your human relationships will tell you everything. There's a time, and some of you can look at this time period, because this will happen organically. You really don't have to do that much these days to find a shift happening in your relationships. They'll fall off, or you'll bond deeper. And if you start looking and you say, damn, I just had a breakdown with that one. Damn, now this one, oh my God. And before you know it, you'll be in a year or a series, a month where the relationship, somebody will stop speaking to you, or you don't know why, because maybe they don't have skills, and so that's the way they deal with things. So they'll disappear from your life, that type of thing. And that when you see a pattern happening, and you got a stream of this, either it is a natural corrective energy that's happening organically because you are raising your vibration, or something is happening that you need to attend to ask what's going on here. And when you care about people and you don't just let people walk out of your life, because there's an accountability factor in your human relationships. People now have this idea that they're not accountable to the heart of matters, the matters of the heart. No, we are more accountable to the matters of the heart. And baby, you go out here trying to launch a business, it will show up. You want to be in ministry. And sometimes the paradigm shift that we need is atonement. We need to go to people we've offended, not intentionally, or people that we have been offended by, and tell the truth. This hurt me, rather than just checking out, the flight or flight. It is no longer something that is tolerable for the masters, because when you are in relationship, thank God, Mafari Foon for the ancestors now who taught me this, that you don't do this in relationships. You don't let people basically tell you F you, and you know that that's what they're doing, and you act like it's not happening. No, you act like you don't feel something when your text messages are not answered. You need to deal with that with yourself first, because first of all, technology is not something we need to rely on. But you need to deal with what do I make up about this when this happens? When you have rejection and abandonment issues, you will attach that to almost anything. You will assume that people saw things and then you got an attitude. Or you will use these algorithms on social media to rate the quality of your relationships when you're over there lonely and nobody knows you're lonely because you hadn't extended an invitation or asked to be invited. Why? Because pride sets in. Oh, we're talking about relationships or mirrors. Those of you who are praying for a boo, honey, sometimes you don't know what you're praying for when you refuse to do your work, when you have no motivation to do the healing work, when you have no motivation to improve your inner game. So then you get in relationships and they become your laboratory. Your relationships become your laboratory because you haven't done the work when you're on your own. So now in the relationship, you're going to meet parts of yourself, and baby, here comes the testing ground. Know what you're praying for when you're praying for a boo, because your boo sometimes will be the only place, because you haven't been in circles of friends that's going to give you good feedback about you. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. You might not always like it. And so, do you like what you see is the question, because you are the architect and the builder, and you have designed and produced your world to the exact specifications of your consciousness, or you are doing it on someone else's specifications of their consciousness. Some of you are still working on old ideas from your tribe that you grew up in, your mother. Some of you have heard your own mother say you can't trust women. And so now you walk with that as a reference point because you haven't done the work to clean up the reference point that I can trust women. I can allow someone to help me. You don't trust sales. So when someone offers you the way that they can serve you, you will say they're just trying to sell me something. You got a poor relationship with money. Don't just look at your relationship with people, too. You got a poor relationship with money. And you got a poor relationship with people because people who can just serve you for free. That's the old model of healing. When people martyring themselves. Even when you do training for healing arts, the healing masters tell you there must be an exchange because if not, people are becoming a succubus off of your energy. There's an energy exchange, and we ought to count it not robbery. You simply cannot run away from your world because you can't run away from yourself. Now, how many of y'all know that's a Bob Marley song? You're running and you're running and you're running away. You're running and you're running, but you can't run away from yourself. Y'all go look that up. Somebody go post that in the group after we get off of the call because you can't run away from yourself. But, baby, you try. And listen, when you try to shut down your world, you don't have any friends, you don't have a boo, you got your children. Oh, yeah, your children will be the ones that will show you the work that you still got to do on yourself. Okay, let's say you don't have any children. You don't have a boo. You don't have many friends. But you got to go to work unless you're on disability. But then you still got to interact with people. So our relationships matter. This probably is the most wealthiest turning point to look at at the midpoint. We're in Gemini season. Gemini season is about to end tomorrow, but that's all right. That's all right because we're getting ready to go into Cancer season. Cancer season is all about family. It's all about socializing. It's all about the structure of your friends and circle, taking care of people, the matters of the heart. So we're going from the social butterfly of Gemini, the communicator, into family. Well, how do you communicate with your family and your friends? That is the question. Think of it this way. What you are experiencing in life are your infinite ideas projected into your materiality. However, behind what you see is what spirit sees, and the infinite vision constitutes reality. The same is true for everything in your life and in your world. Look at your relationships. There may be strain, turmoil, and friction from your perspective, but from the higher vision, there's only love, harmony, and peace, if you choose it. If you choose it, because we live in a holographic universe. And in this holographic universe, we are projecting what we can see. So that's how come you got to be careful what you watch on TV, what you ingest too much. I like to tell myself, thank God my mind chose to manifest me now in the realm of reality TV and being a servant to transformation now that I happen to be working with one of the baddest women on the planet, both Oprah Winfrey and Iyanla Vanzant, who are working to do transformation. They women, black women, mothers, queen mothers who set the energy. No, I haven't met Oprah in person, but good God, ain't it good to be that far removed, this close to, much closer to it? But not just to Oprah, but to the Oprah in me, in myself. That in my watching a little guilty pleasure, watching TV, I would always be watching from the standpoint, man, I really want to go in and help and support them. But you see, if you're watching it to be entertained, to check out, and you will create those realities in your world. People don't believe that, but I can tell you that there have been times when I have mindlessly watched something, and either I'll process it in my dreams, or I will find myself in a spirit, and it will show up right in my relationship with my beloved, because many times we're attracted to things that oftentimes we haven't worked out or that we wished we had in some ways. And so I talked a little bit about this and when we were talking about entrepreneurship, but getting along with other people. And one of the first steps to getting along with other people is from the mental diet is getting along with yourself. Some of us don't like ourselves, and so you will attract people around you. Sometimes you don't dislike them, but you ain't that that in love with them. It's a great thing. Let me tell you something real talk. You all know that I recently made a move to Atlanta, and moving down south was not necessarily something in my imagination, but I usually move where spirit directs me. It's a deep listening that I have on a supernatural level, and literally spirit has always moved me exactly where I need to be, and most of the time I don't know why. I usually am trusting. And it always turns out well. That's a great affirmation to have. I've never made a move that Spirit told me to make that didn't turn out well. And so in this move to Atlanta, I promise you, some of my friends will tell you I never thought I'd come to Atlanta. In fact, when people would say Atlanta, I'd roll my eyes and everybody want to move to Atlanta. I don't like being the one that does what everybody does. If I see a bunch of people doing something, even in business, a lot of times I won't do that same thing. That's just how God made me, and I love it. It works for me. And when I start trying to be the same and do the same, it stresses me out. In fact, I know I'm out of purpose because I'm here to teach people how to rebirth their lives on their own purpose, on their own terms, not be a replica, copy, or clone of somebody else, even though you have influences. Anyway, so listen, I literally had known for I don't know how many years that I was complete in D.C. because the Holy Spirit also told me that. It got to the point where it affected my attitude. My attitude I started to see certain things in relationships that no longer were serving me. They no longer were an energetic match to me. D.C. has become something very different than when I came to D.C. And I see that reflected sometimes in the business community and the pretense and the pretentiousness. And so I had to look at myself first and see, where am I pretending? Where am I being pretentious? Well, what am I engaging in that I really don't like and really don't care for, but I feel like I got to do it? Oh, yeah, I had to check in with me first. And so when I moved to the first move, the biggest move of my life ever was to move to another country I'd never been to. And then guess what? Because of who I am, I found friends instantly. I moved over to Costa Rica, and almost instantly we had friends, bonds because of literally the internet, and then grew them. But in that time, I was able to shed some of what I thought I had to do, and people, even some of the friendships that I had attracted, I took them at face value for what they were. I didn't feel like I needed to change them, but I knew what it was. I would tell you in the Sweat Lodge, it was a girlfriend's experience celebrating another girlfriend, another Gemini, and who just loves me. I mean, and I love her, and we've been friends for so many years, not knowing we would be in the same city. And she's a businesswoman and been winning in her game for a long time, too. So when she saw me win, she was moved to tears of happiness for me. When I've been grieved, she's been grieved for me, and vice versa. And, of course, there are extensions, and then we get here, and then there's been roads that connected each other that we didn't even plan. And so now, almost without doing anything, without trying to manipulate anything, I have a tribe. I've attracted people in this season of my life who genuinely love me. And I've always have had people who love me around me. But let me tell you, when you have experienced any type of settling, pretentiousness, sweeping things under the rug, being treated indifferent in some ways. Because you got to remember, a part of my own story was the black sheep story. So therefore, I was going to attract some of these circles that treated me like the black sheep, or who were afraid of me because I was different, especially in the religious world, in the religious community. I was good for many people to be in, to talk to them about these magical things and rituals privately at lunch and in their home, but not invite me in their pulpit because they didn't know if I might say certain key words that might trigger something. That was a form of rejection, and it hurt. And I digested it for years and carried it for years. And I accepted things for where they were, but the truth is it never really sat well in my spirit. I'm being completely honest with you all. Why? Because to be in the space of love, to be loved and to be safe in love, and to be able to love so freely, you will not know how long you have settled for the unloving. Until you get in the company of true love, then you will see how long you have settled for unloving. Sometimes even in your own family. And when you take a stand for yourself to evaluate the mirror reflections around you without having to make mountains out of molehills, where every incident irritates you. And then another person, another incident, it irritates you. And it keeps on growing and growing and growing. And then the first thing you start to say is, I don't fool with people. I don't deal with people like that. That's why some of you, it's easy for you to get on the prayer call on Sundays and not say anything, because you really don't trust people. This is why it's easy for you to try to move under the radar and under the radar, but all the while you're sending signals that you do really want to be in relationship and you want to be seen, but you don't know how. The other thing is that you can't always be everywhere all the time, and that's okay. And so we have to stop judging so much, because like will beget like. Once you start to look at eliminating faults of others and all of that, once you start to do this in spite of what your present relationships will be, you will discover that as you eliminate your own faults, you will at the same time be removing what you considered faulty in the reactions of others around you, and you will find love everywhere you go. You will not meet a stranger, and the whole world becomes your family, because relationships are wealth. Some of you all know that there's a movie out on Netflix, a Netflix original called The Black Godfather. And the man literally had mastered the art of connecting people, and that became his specialty, such that he made millions over because of this man's ability to negotiate. It also is a spiritual role to be the negotiator. And we don't get just one role. Negotiator is a spiritual role. And sometimes we get to move in and out of the masculine and feminine roles to know when to play what role. And so today we bring into our conscious awareness all of our relationships, not just the erotic ones. We're going to do a special day for erotic, though. We're going to do a special day for sexuality. Oh, just hang on in here, girl. Hang on in here, brother. Yes, indeed. So today we're going to do our affirmation. I know we're getting close to my time that I like to end. Just take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Today, and this is from the Mental Diet, all of these are some of these are directly downloaded to me. Some of these are modified, and today is no different. Today, I firmly establish in my mind that I am at peace with myself and have harmonious relationships with all those around me. I no longer inhibit the flow through me of the love which God has for me for all of creation. I rid my mind of all negative attitude towards others and express only love, consideration, and appreciation for them after I forgive. I am willing to do the forgiveness work to be able to offer this love, this consideration, and this appreciation. As I let my mind dwell on the desirable qualities of others and overlook the rest, that which I overlook ceases to exist for me. I discover in myself all those qualities which I can find in others. Regardless of present relationships, I know and declare that they can be to me only what I believe them to be. I am willing to heal, I am willing to feel, and I am willing to deal. As I cooperate with them, offering the best and the finest I have in communication, in spirit, and in truth, there's a similar response. And if there is not, I surrender those relationships such that they can go free and find the places of love that is a match for them. As I now make a greater effort to reflect the real nature of life in my thoughts and acts, all my relationships with others develop into a mutual endeavor to express and experience the abundant good that the life affords. So take a breath, another one in through your nose and out through your mouth. Mother, Father, God, Holy Spirit, all that is, we thank you for this opportunity to bring into love, agape love, into our personal world. We affirm that our world is simply my consciousness projected. Help me, Holy Spirit, to project a new consciousness, to shift the paradigm of the screen of my life. And anything that I see that is not perfect and harmonious and not of the will of the Most High is not real. I thank you that I retrain my brain, that I focus my intention on what it is that I desire to create. So therefore, Holy Spirit, create in me a clean heart, renew in me a right spirit, such that I am able to clean up matters of my own heart. Help me to clean up matters of my own heart so that I can be a magnet for abundance, so that I can be a magnet for high-quality friendships and relationships. Help me to be a magnet for a strong social life and healthy relating in all my affairs, especially even in business. We thank you for the places that still let me know that there is forgiveness to be done. We thank you for the opportunity to atone. We thank you for settling differences that no longer are serving the consciousness and the vision to go higher, to level up, and to expand our territory today. We thank you that as we pray to expand our territory, we pray to have more materiality, that we will not forget humanity, and that we will pray for our intentions to be good humans without being super overly righteous, that even our flaws are good for our perfect design, for it makes us unique just as it makes others unique. We thank you that it's not our job to go change or fix people or point out where they need to grow without doing it for ourselves. We thank you for creating tribes where we grow together, where we evolve together. We thank you for creating safe spaces to be able to tell one another the truth, our truths, and have our truths be kept in a safe deposit box of love, of freedom, of transformation, and of healing. We thank you for the families that we have chosen and those who have chosen us. We thank you for being in proximity to love, to good health, to good exchanges, healthy exchanges that could lead to business partnerships. We thank you that even as we study corporations, we see corporations coming together to profit for a bigger return. We thank you for those of us who are savvy enough to know that operating as an island, operating all alone may have been for a season, but we now give ourselves permission to come into relationships, to form partnerships that grow our bottom line and that we will grow together. We thank you that when relationships no longer serve us, that we will leave them better than we found them, without condemnation and without the need for validation. We thank you that we surrender these low vibrational energies and raise our energy even beyond the third dimensional plane, that we connect even with our spiritual ancestors, our cosmic family as well. We thank you for those angels, archangels, and guides who are a part of this family, and that we will attune ourselves such that we will be high vibrational beings, able to hear, to see, and tap into our spiritual gifts, such that we will continue to be in relationship with them. We thank you for those who are in this circle, not by accident, but they were craving high vibrational relationships, and we ask that they receive exactly that and return that the same. And so we let all those energies that no longer serve us to rise and to raise our vibration, to raise our eyes unto the hills from which cometh our help. We know that our help cometh from the law of life. Let there be life in our relationships and not death. Let there be life in our communications and not death. Let there be life in our business matters and not death. Let there be life in our matters of the heart and not death. And so we thank you for not taking for granted that we can correct it later, that we thank you for not taking for granted the relationships that we have, and help us to continue to be mindful of every moment that we have to look another human being in the eye and just simply to speak the prayer of the blue people on the movie, the avatars. I see you. I see you. Help us to be able to come in contact with another loved one today, to see our families as another loved one, and keep all predatory energy at bay, for let it not even be able to come nigh our dwelling, that we will vibrate so high that it cannot even attach to us, so therefore we don't have to worry, and that we can move in the world safe yet aware, safe yet discerning, safe yet in wisdom. And so for this, we let it be so, and so it is. And so, my beloveds, this is a real opportunity to celebrate your relationships, all of your relationships, to just send a love note to somebody. I want to challenge you today to send a love note of thanks. Thank you for the love notes that you sent to me. Thank you for those who have made love offerings as well, just willingly. But also consider those, sometimes consider paying it forward in a way with a cup of coffee, a toll, or just a love note. Hey, you know what? I hadn't told you in a long time. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for your friendship. Be that random person in people's life. Be that one today, and see if it does not return to you, pressed down, shaken up, and running over. Engage on somebody's post today. Don't just scroll. Don't scroll in your life. The purpose of social media is engagement. That's a tip that I want to get into one day with those of you who are in business. But yet many of you sit over there and worry about nobody seeing, liking your post. Be the one so that you won't be missed. Be the engager today. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.